Welcome to the Happy Corners True Story Thursday. This Thursday we are going to be talking about hypnobirthing. And so I wanted to start off with this really calm scenery. And I just want you to watch it for a second while I share this. So you just watch those peaceful, calm waves. It stopped raining today, and it's been a pretty interesting day. I'm just sharing this on my own page. I hope you've had a good day today. And in a minute, I'm going to turn this around. And I'm going to talk more about why hypnobirthing brings a lot of calmness and my own experience with it. So as you watch the calm motion, those waves, sorry, I canceled. I'm going to turn this camera around. So hello and welcome to this True Story Thursday. I hope that you're having a good day, and we're going to get started with our hypnobirthing theme of today. I don't know if a lot of people have or have not heard of hypnobirthing. It's a topic that's growing, and one of the things that has happened lately is, I don't know if you know that Kate, she used hypnobirthing for her son, or her, the two kids that she's had. And when I say Kate, I mean like the royals, right? So yeah, she was in the news for using that, and there's other like celebrities that have started to use that more. So it's becoming more and more popular for people to really, like, people are starting to think about it, to wonder what it is. So hypnobirthing, what is it? Let me know where you're watching from. I'm Evelyn, and I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner and a registered clinical hypnotherapist at the Happy Corner. And I wanted to do this hypnobirthing question and answer section and info because there's a lot of people that are wondering what it is and also have a lot of questions about it. They're not really sure. I'm just going to check here because I'm not sure if I can see any comments or anything. Anyways, so I had my own experiences with hypnobirthing. I've had 3 kids, and for two of my kids, I used hypnobirthing for the birth. So I guess I'll start with one of the things that is the most common among women that are pregnant. A lot of the time, it's women that are pregnant for the first time. And a lot of the time it's women that are, it's not their first time, but maybe their first time they had not the best experience for their birth, or they had a very traumatic experience when it came to their birth. So this whole idea about what women think about birth focuses on, the hypnobirthing method focuses on a calm and peaceful birth. But a lot of what we hear is the complete opposite to that. So a lot of women come to birth, or when they're pregnant, they have a lot of fear around birth. A lot of fear because of the unknown. Like, they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's happening to their body. They don't know, what their body's going to do when birth comes, and how they're going to handle all this pain that supposedly you're supposed to just like work through and push through, right? So hypnobirthing actually helps for the women to be able to understand how their body works, to understand how their mind works, and to put those two together at work so that they can work for them when the birth comes, so that you can be working with your baby and with your body instead of against your body when the time comes that your baby has to come. So HypnoBirthing is a birth preparation class. It is a calm and peaceful way to have a birth, and it is a way that you prepare yourself so that you go into birth feeling empowered and confident. It is not a magic cure for a perfect birth. It is not someone taking over your mind and controlling you. It is not being completely unconscious when you have when your birth happens. It's not any of those things. And so a lot of people wonder, that sounds really weird, right? Like HypnoBirthing. And so I wanted to explain it more, because it is not any of those things. And a lot of the time people have heard about hypnosis, or they're wondering like, what is going on? Like, I don't know what that means. I don't even know if HypnoBirthing is for me. So as you listen to me today, maybe you can decide if it's something that you would like to look into for yourself, and if it's for you. So the way it works is, HypnoBirthing, like I said, is a childbirth preparation class course. It's actually 5 classes, and you take them once a week, and the classes last for about 2.5 hours. And each class covers different techniques that I will get into later. But mainly it's helping you to prepare to kind of let go of that fear. If you have any fear that you've developed, or any anxieties about birth, any fear that you have left from other births, that also helps. And it really helps you to feel like you have tools to work with that you can use for when the birth of your baby happens. So I'll start by actually sharing, before I get into everything else, I'll start by sharing my story. I have, like I mentioned, I have 3 kids, and my first baby, I wasn't as prepared, and I wish I would have looked more into different ways of having a better birth experience. But at the time I didn't, and I went to the hospital. Things seemed to go well, but then at the end they kind of went downhill, and then really pretty much like it ended up being an emergency C-section. And after it happened, I ended up being in the hospital for 2 weeks trying to recover from something they didn't even know what it was that I had. It was a very hard experience for me, and it was not a normal recovery. So usually some people say like 6 weeks you're feeling better and stuff, and I wasn't. It was like about 3 months I started to feel better. By 6 months I could actually feel like I could go and actually run outside and like do any physical exercise. So that period of time for me was really hard, the recovery period, and after I had the baby. And so for me it was a really bad experience, and I had like a lot of fear around birth going into it, but also from that experience, that fear was like added even more, and I just didn't feel like I ever wanted to have kids ever again. So I don't know if you can relate to that, but that's how I felt. And when I got pregnant with my second baby, I was very determined to find a different way to have a birth that was not so crazy like the first one. So I started looking, and I found some really amazing midwives. And this is at the time I was in Calgary. So those midwives are awesome, and they really encouraged me. But one of them noticed, like they would ask me how I was doing each and every time that I went, and she noticed that every time she would ask me, I would have like a lot of hesitation, and I would show kind of a lot of like fear towards how I was feeling about the birth. So one day she approached me and she said, I could help you. She said, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I can teach you different things that you can do to let go of that fear and to focus more on the positive side of your birth and to completely feel confident. And I really, really, really wanted that. So I said, yes, let's do it. So she taught me a lot of different methods that I could use to relax at the birth, so that I could feel prepared, so I could feel more calm, so that I could work with my body and not against my body. And then she also helped me to get that fear that I had implanted in my mind kind of out of my mind, so that I could replace it with positive thoughts about birth instead of all the negative things that I had put in there. So anyway, so that happened, and I was preparing myself. The birth finally came, and I went from like feeling like a 10 plus fear to I was at 0, and I honestly felt prepared, and I felt confident, and I felt like for the first time I believed that my body could do that. My body could birth this baby naturally and without having another C-section, because I've had that one before, right? A lot of doctors had told me like, oh, you should just have another C-section, and I really did not want that. So I really made a big effort to prepare myself in that way and to learn all these different techniques and stuff that I could use. And so I went to the birth, and it was amazing. Like I was really surprised, and I was really happy with how the experience. It was a complete opposite of the first experience I had, because I felt more confident. I had learned about how my body works. I had learned about letting go of the fear and focusing on the positive, and then focusing in on myself and working with my body. And so I think we went to the hospital at around 11, and I had him at 4 a.m, my son. So it was like 5 hours, and like it was amazing. I didn't take anything, like I didn't have any drugs or anything. It was just the kind of birth that I had wanted. And I was really grateful for that, because I had obviously overcome something that was really big for me, that big fear of being able to give birth and all of that. And it was just such a good experience. And, it was funny because we had the baby, and then 2 hours later, I think it was 2 or 3 hours later, I had showered, I had breakfast, and I felt pretty good. I'm not going to say I wasn't tired. Like I was tired, but I wasn't in like crazy pain. I was feeling okay. And so we decided to go home. Like I think it was about 2 or 3 hours after it happened. So we went home, like I recovered. I continued to recover throughout the days, and everything was fine. Like my birth and he was healthy. There was nothing wrong, and everything went really well. And so I was really happy with that experience. And then for my third baby, I was obviously knew that, there was ways to prepare for the birth. So with the baby that I was expecting, my third one, I took the HypnoBirthing class, and then I learned even more techniques that you can use, not just me, but along with my husband, to help me to be able to be a good support, and to be able to know what I was doing, and know the kinds of things that I needed. And that's something that's important too, when you're going to have a baby, is to be able to have the support, good support. And sometimes your partner or husband doesn't know how they can best support you. So sometimes they feel kind of like they wish they could do something, they want to do something, they really don't know what. And sometimes it's even like makes them even more tense, or even stressed, because they don't know what's happening and they don't know how to help you. So again, going back to hypnobirthing, it really helped us both gain techniques that we could use for when the time came when the baby was going to be born. And again, I went to the hospital, and this time she was born in Vancouver Island, because we move a lot. But anyway, we went to the hospital, and we had these techniques, these tools, that we had learned and we had been practicing. And I feel pretty confident. And this time I feel like I was even more calm. Like I was really calm. Things started kind of happening at around midnight at home, and I just kind of relaxed. I was listening to the relaxation MP3, the rainbow relaxation, and just because I was used to it, it would just automatically help my body relax. And so I was just kind of trying to relax and rest. And then at around like 5:30 or 6, I was like, I think we need to go, because I feel like these contractions, we call them surges, they're happening more often. And so anyway, we went, and it was just a peaceful drive to the hospital. I was, feeling good, and we got there, and they're like, yep, you're 7 centimeters dilated. This is good. And I was really happy about that, because I knew that obviously these techniques to relax and stuff had helped me to get to the 7 centimeters. And then again, it was like about a 5-hour labor in the hospital. She was born at around 11, and she was a total surprise because we were expecting a boy. That's another story for another day. But yeah, so we went, and I had again, same experience where it was really, really calm, and I was able to kind of really go and focus and be really focused on myself and my body, and just allow my body to do what it needed to do. And my husband was there to help me with techniques, to remind me of different things that I could do, positions to be in, massage techniques that he had learned to help me with. And so through all of that, the whole experience was a really positive one for me. Hi Lester. And so my experience, that was my third experience with HypnoBirthing, my third baby, but my second experience with it. And so after that experience, I was really convinced. I was like, wow, like this really helped me a lot for my second baby and my third baby. And so that's why after I was like, if this birth goes amazing, like the second one, I'm going to take the training, and I'm going to be able to teach other women about this and about the amazing techniques that you can have for when you give birth, and how they can help you to have a good positive experience, whether it's your first baby or whether it's your second or third baby and you've had like a bad experience before. This can really help you to feel more confident and to let go of that fear that those experiences will cost. So that's my experience with HypnoBirthing. And so anyway, I went and got my certification, and obviously now I can teach it. And it's been really rewarding being able to teach this to other women, and to help them to learn those skills that relax them for birth. I'm just going to go over this thing that I have here. So a lot of the benefits of HypnoBirthing are that it helps create a calm and peaceful, easier birth experience. It reduces the likelihood of surgical birth. So a lot of the time, it doesn't go as far as like you having a C-section, because you don't need to. It doesn't, like, you're so calm and relaxed that your body just does what it needs to. It eliminates and reduces fear of birth. It provides a supportive role for your birthing partner, and it eliminates and decreases the need for conventional methods of pain relief. And so with that, I'm just going to add that just because it's saying, like, I had a natural birth, right? But just because it's saying that you can have that doesn't mean that you have to have that. If you're planning to have a birth where you think like, okay, well, maybe I will get an epidural, right? We support that. So the whole process, or the whole class, is to be able to help you to release fear, gain confidence, and have tools that can help you to stay calm and relaxed throughout the birth, no matter how birth turns out. Because that's the other thing too, right? We can plan for things, and we can prepare ourselves, and then birth happens the way it happens. That's something that we can't control in this life. It just happens as it happens. But the best thing is that when you have prepared yourself, and when you have the tools, if things start turning in the way that you didn't expect, you still have those tools to keep you confident and to keep you calm, so that you can make the right decisions and feel good about the whole process, after the birth. So these classes help you with different techniques, and I'm going to talk about the different techniques and stuff. There's a lot of techniques and stuff out there that can help, but the techniques that are used here are specifically to help you to relax, to focus, and to feel calm. And the whole reason behind that is because when your body is calm and relaxed, your body is able to go through the process of birth easier, because your muscles, they're not tense. But when you are in your mind, you're thinking, oh, this is really painful, and your body starts feeling that, you start to tense up, like you have fists like this, and then your body, like your face muscles are become tense, and then your whole body becomes tense, and so whatever is happening inside is either stopped or it's having a hard time continuing to flow naturally because you're all tensed up, and your muscles are kind of like not allowing the process to happen. And so what we encourage is to use these techniques so that you are able to allow your body to do what it's meant to do, because it's naturally meant to have this process so that you can have a baby. But a lot of the time, because of all the things that we've learned and all the things that we have heard, either in the media or from friends, a lot of the things are negative things about birth. So like, it was just crazy thing, and they, somebody gives you details about the hard thing that they had to go through for birth, or maybe your mom has had that, and she talks about it all the time, or you've seen those, you always see those movies on TV where they show like all these women just like running around like crazy about to give birth, or like at the hospital screaming their heads off. So it's like this crazy stressful thing, right? And so when you have those pictures in your mind about what birth is, when you think about it, you're like, you have this fear because that's all you've been introduced to, that birth is a scary, terrifying thing that hopefully you survive. And that's not it at all. Hypnobirthing really helps us to understand that birth is just a natural part of life, and you and your body are built to be able to make that happen naturally. And also, you have control over the situation as you learn techniques to be able to use your mind to relax your body. Your body is able to do what it needs to do naturally without, any interruptions of medication or any other things, so that the whole process can be done the way it's supposed to be done naturally. And in the end, you have a calmer, more peaceful birth. So I'm going to, after I've said that, I know you've heard a lot of calm and peaceful, and there's probably a lot of questions that you might have about, what your experience will be like, what does it feel like. So in classes that we teach, we teach you, we talk about a technique, we explain to you like the science behind it, and then also we practice, and then you go home and practice those techniques. And then you practice them daily so that you are able to go right into that at birth. And as you practice it, you will experience a lot of peace, a lot of calmness, and deep relaxation. And this is what helps you obviously have a more peaceful birth. So one of the important things to remember is that hypnobirthing, it's two words, right? So hypno comes from the hypnosis, using hypnosis, and birthing, it's for the birth. So using hypnosis for the birth. And so when people hear about hypnosis, they freak out because all they've heard is, again, the same thing, negative things, or they've seen like people, waving something in front of you on TV, and they're like, oh, I'm going to hypnotize you. Or you go to those like stage shows where it's like hypnosis for stage, and like they make people do weird stuff, and people go up there and they make them, do really weird stuff in front of people and make them look like fools. And so a lot of people have an idea of what it is, and they're like, oh no, you're gonna just take over my mind and make me do weird stuff. And that's okay, like if that's what you, in your mind, that's all like you can't know what you don't know, right? But that's not hypnosis at all. Hypnosis, like hypnotherapy, is actually used for therapy. So hypnosis for therapy. And so hypnotherapy is very different from that stage hypnosis where people make you do weird stuff, right? Maybe you feel like you can't really control what's happening. But the reality is that hypnotherapy is only used for therapeutic reasons. And hypnosis is used for a lot of different things, not just for birth. It's used for, quitting habits that are hard, like smoking, or for patients when they go either pre-operation or after the operation, post-op, for cancer. It's used for dental surgery, so when people are allergic to anesthetics. It's used for weight loss, it's used for self-improvement, to gain more self-confidence. It's used for a lot of different things. And so why it's used for a lot of different things is because it targets your subconscious mind. And what happens is that hypnosis, because it's used as a therapy, it's used to work with your mind, right? So what happens is this, and I'll try to explain it the best way that I can so it's not confusing. So our mind is made up of the conscious and the subconscious. So the conscious and the subconscious minds work, and the one that we use most of the time is the conscious, right? When we're awake, when we're walking around, when we have to make decisions and think about things, process things in our minds, that's our conscious mind. But our subconscious mind has everything that we've learned from when we were babies, from when we were babies all the way up to now. So it stores everything, whether it's good or bad, it's like stored in there, right? And so, thinking about birth, if you, from when you were younger or whenever it was up until now, have heard a lot of negative things about birth, so either watching videos or somebody told you a story, or even your mom maybe told you a very negative story about what happened when you were born, all those things are stored in your subconscious mind. And so when you become pregnant or when you're, ready to have this baby, what do you think about it? You think about all those things come up, right? They come up because they're in your subconscious mind. That's what you know about birth. And so you start developing this fear or this anxiety about what's your birth going to be like? It's going to be like that because that's all you know. That's all that's in there, right? And so the hypnotherapy helps you to focus your mind so that you can focus on more positive affirmations, we call them, or thoughts about your birth. And so as you listen to more positive things, it starts kind of taking over all those negative things, pushing the negative things out and filling your brain with all the good positive affirmations and thoughts. And until it becomes it's like the winning thoughts in your mind are no longer the negative, but they're the positive. And so you start changing your mind about, the idea of birth. And the lady who wrote the HypnoBirthing book and the whole program, Marie Mongan is her name. I'm going to read a quote. When you change the way you birth, so when you change the way you birth will change. So that when you change the way you view birth, the way you birth will change. So when we change that view that we have, whether it's like, it's this crazy thing, it's this scary thing, it's this fearful thing, when we change that view that we have about birth, the way we birth changes. Because then if we have a positive outlook and positive idea about what birth is and can be, then that's what our body follows, and that's what happens when we go and give birth. Now, I'm not saying that every birth is perfect and that, you're going to have the most amazing perfect birth, because every birth is different. But you have a really big chance of having a really calm birth. And to me, that was such a relief. And it was such a, I guess it was empowering to me to be able to go in and feel like, what, I'm in control of this, and I can work with my body and help this baby come and work with the baby and be able to have a good experience. So I invite you to look into it, to think about it, think about if, hypnobirthing is for you. I'm just going to read some of the questions that I often get or people ask about hypnobirthing. It says, if I intend to take an epidural, what happens, right? And I kind of mentioned that before. Many women who enroll in hypnobirthing have already, thought they were going to do that. They intend to do that. And so we don't tell you like you can't do that or you shouldn't do that. We just give you the techniques and the training that you can use on your own so that you can go into your birth confidently, regardless of what the kind of birth you would like to have. Another question that people often ask is like, so, I went and I took the course or whatever, and my birth, I was wanting it to be natural, but then it ended up being that something happened and I had to get a C-section, or the something happened And so I had to have interventions, right? When they didn't want that. So was that a hypnobirth because that happened? And the answer is your experience of what you have is not about like whether you had a natural birth or whether you had a C-section. It's about being in control and feeling confident and calm in any of those situations. So yes, if you were, able to feel that you were able to handle that calmly and you were able to have a say and you decided for yourself, it wasn't just like thrown on you and you felt like out of control, then yes, it was very useful for you to be able to have those tools. And yes, it was a hypnobirthing experience. Sorry, my throat's a little bit dry. And then the other one says, how many couples are in a class? And it depends, it can be anywhere from 4 to 7. I would say 7 probably the most, because that's like 14 people in one class. I do a group and also private classes, and if it needs to be done, then I do online, so using Skype or FaceTime. So just contact me if you are wondering. When is the best time during my pregnancy to take the hypnobirthing course? And this is a good question, because some people are like, oh, it's too early, or some people are like, oh, I'm just too late, it's not going to be good for me. So we suggest that you take the classes anytime after 3 months. You can start right after 3 months if you want. The longer you have time to practice, obviously it's better for you throughout your pregnancy, because you're able to enjoy all the benefits of feeling calm, feeling centered, and you're able to practice it longer. But also, if like say you don't find out that this hypnobirthing program exists until you're like, I don't know, 7-8 months pregnant or something, you can still take it. And you will still get benefits from being able to take it, because you feel calm. Those benefits really help you to feel centered, right? You may not get as much time to practice different techniques, but you will still get tools that are very useful for you to use at birth. Let's see. Okay. Why should I take the course? Why not just read the book? So the book is out there, anybody can read it, but the most important thing is the practice, being able to know that you're practicing correctly, being able to ask the questions that come up for you, and being able to tailor it to your own situation, right? So the book, it's nice if you read it, but when you don't have the actual practice, so it's like the theory, right? But when you don't put it into practice and actually, like, you don't know what that really looks like, it's not as helpful. So that's why it's important to take the classes, because the classes kind of bring the theory into practice and really help you see, how it feels. It really help you also your spouse or partner, really help them to really get in there and really practice and really feel like they can be very useful at your birth, because sometimes they feel like they're just standing there, they don't know what to do, right? So for all of those reasons, it's really important to not just read the book, but to actually take the classes, because the tools also that you get don't just help you for your birth, but you can actually use them later in life, learning to relax. Like, who doesn't need that? So tools that help you to learn to relax. And so anyway, other benefits that you can get from taking the hypnobirthing is, depending on what your individual experience is, you become more confident in yourself, in your ability to birth, in your body. And for me, that was a big thing. I think for the first time, it was like in my mind, I was like, oh, like my body can do this. Like my body can birth a baby. Like it's not this thing that I feel like I just could never do, because that's how I felt before, And so for me, it was like the realization and empowerment that came with that realization that my body could and can give birth and had everything that it needed to do that. And I just needed to practice and to make that shift in my mind to know that I could do this, that I was going to be able to do it. Anyway, so that was my experience. And I really invite you to look into it, you know, wherever you are. If you're watching this from a place that's like obviously not in Canada or wherever, look into it, because it really helps. It really will provide you with the tools that you will need. I teach classes here in Vancouver Island, and if you know me from Calgary or other places, send me a message and we can talk about other methods that we can do the classes, other ways. Also, you know, you can do private or group if you're here in Campbell River is where I am. But obviously if you're really far, then private is the only way to go. But I like overall, you know, my whole purpose for teaching this is because I know that I was in a situation where I really felt like I didn't know how I was going to go through the second birth of my son. And we, like, one thing after another kind of aligned so that I could find out about this HypnoBirthing program, and so that I didn't have to, you know, feel like my second birth or third birth were bad experiences. I left with a good feeling of experience, but also it really changed my confidence in my body and my confidence in the ability to be able to give birth naturally. And overall, the feeling, you know, that I was left with for the first birth, which was like just frustrated, upset, with a lot of fear, all of those things changed and allowed me to have a good positive experience and to be able to give birth to my two last kids in a calm and peaceful way. And that's why I call it, like, you know, that's why I say, do you want to have a calm and peaceful birth? So it's up to you, obviously, right? The parent is the last one to decide and to figure out what works best for them. So if you like this video and any of the information, if you still have any questions, send me a message or write it on here in the comments and I'll send you an answer. If you're interested in knowing more, just contact me and we can figure out a time to talk. Or if you want to take the classes, also let me know if you want to do group or if you want to do private sessions. And I hope that you have a wonderful journey throughout your pregnancy and for your birth experience. And if you have any friends that are pregnant that you feel like this information may be helpful for them, share it with them. And like the Happy Corner, which is my page, if you haven't already. I hope you have a wonderful week and you enjoy your weekend with your family and your friends. And I'll see you next week.